Hey. All right. Welcome back to the Keep It Real podcast with Nicholas Caleb Salter, the first, hopefully the last. It's been a little while since the last episode. Been about a couple months. Actually, the last one was in June, September. I can do math. That's three. I think that's 3 months, right? June, July, August, September. Yes, three. 3 months. Yeah, it's been a little bit, a lot of major life changes. I know a major one is just that now I'm officially moved into my new home. Well, right now I just see a white wall back here, but this is a wall to a larger abode here. But yeah, it's been a little bit. Now this is my first steps I'm actually doing from my property, which is again crazy to really think about. It's not really something that like you have dreams and then you actually achieve them, and you're like, whoa, it's real. It's real. It's like, oh shit, look at that. But yeah, kind of that's the biggest major update that I'd have in my life personally, and I hope that you all are doing fantastic as well. Wish you good health, good fortune, and everything. But a topic that I want to touch on today, something I feel like is very, very important, especially for people in my generation, as well as Gen Alpha as well. I'm Gen Z technically, feel like millennial, but Gen Z. We need to talk about the pervasive sense of nihilism and cynicism that's kind of running rampant. I feel like that it's very harmful, the kind of state of mind that we're in right now, currently as a generation. Truly, it seems that more and more of us are getting deeper and deeper into just more self pity and a defeatist mentality. Not to say this like in a self righteous manner, like I don't experience this stuff for myself. Obviously, we all do, but it just seems like that we've just kind of given in, kind of giving over to it. You know, kind of a somewhat of a segue. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's been numerous posts to talk about this. Even like in my church, we're talking about this. Just really, even just focusing on just men here for a second, on how there's been a lot more rates of suicide and depression. Actually, suicide we actually committed 4 times more than women, and like the actual biggest threat to men's health, I think above the age of 35 to 40, is themselves, is suicide. I know it's kind of more of a heavier subject matter. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I just want to talk more about what leads up to these kind of actions that are taken. And I do feel like this comes from the fact of most men kind of feel purposeless in their lives. They feel like that they don't have a reason to continue. It's like I remember watching this video today actually that talked about like nowadays men don't really have a sense of nobility. Like even though it's just like femininity has been re-changed or has been like been through a lot of evolutionary changes over these last few generations, and yet masculinity hasn't really been redefined, not even once. Like we're still holding on to a classic sense of masculinity, which does have its merits, but has overall lost its effectiveness in this new world that we've kind of cultivated for ourselves. Men need a sense of purpose in order to feel like they are complete, to feel like that they have something to live for, and without that, they would likely find something to die for. They and I feel like that now that we've kind of taken away the financial provider mindset of men, because now women can basically financially provide for themselves for the most part. It sounds like now men are kind of at a loss of what to do and where their value lies. Now I have a belief that each and every one of us has a certain gift that we are able that we have that belongs to us that we need to give to the world, and that's the purpose for which we're made. Now, a lot of people don't believe in that. That's fine. But that's my table, and that's where I come from. And I feel like it's more of a man's duty to try to figure out what's that thing that makes them unique, that makes them special, that they know they can do well, that they can kind of give back to the world, right? I know like in Christian religion, you kind of call that like a spiritual gift somewhat. But even then, on the spiritual level, there's some kind of talent, some kind of level of intelligence or charisma or problem solving or pattern recognition. There's something that you have that you're able to give to the world that can help make it a better place. It does need to be fostered, it does need to be cultivated, and it does take effort, and it can be difficult to instill in your life on a practical level. But in that fight, you will find that purpose and that drive to kind of keep moving forward and feel like that you're actually capable of achieving something, because you make small stair steps towards your goals, and you start realizing that maybe you can start accomplishing bigger ones as you move your way forward. But at the very least, it gives you a starting ground, a start line, so to speak, to where you can start pursuing what's meaningful to you and starts giving you purpose in your life on a daily basis. And it's hard. It's hard to look for. I know for me, it took me a while to kind of really feel internally what drives me deep. And a lot of times it comes from you being in a rock bottom place. It comes from you being a place that you really, really hate, that you figure out what you really, really love or what you really, really care about. And for me, I've always felt like I had a passion for trying to encourage people, help them move forward, help them see the benefit that they have to them, and help them see that there is a way forward and there's not just darkness at the end. I don't believe in that, and I don't think hopefully, knock on wood, I'll never believe in that. But I think this is something that needs to be stated, because we are getting lost, and I think in the sea of lies, and it's these lies and this deception that's been set up that we don't have anything to live for, our lives don't matter, that we're inconsequential, that it's meaningless, there's nothing but suffering and pain. A lot of these things can be true, but they're not, I believe, the ultimate truth of that. We can transcend that pain and make it count and make it mean something. I think it is a choice, and I do think it's not something we can handle alone, and that we do need a community, we do need a group of individuals, maybe even a mentor that can help see that purpose in us that we may not be able to identify ourselves, and help us cultivate that to where we can start using that and implementing that practically on a daily basis. And this kind of goes into I started getting into kitchen nightmares. Started watching TV a little bit more and kind of watching that. And Gordon Ramsay, reading about his, I know this is like an extreme segue, like where the fuck did this come from? Just hang on with me for a second here. Gordon Ramsay, after reading his backstory and like the abusive household that he grew up in and all the pain and suffering he's endured, and then how hard he worked to kind of become a world-class chef. And then he did a show years back called Kitchen Nightmares, where he would go to some of the worst restaurants in America, to basically kind of help save them within a week's time, to help get them back on the map, get them profitable again, and in a lot of cases kind of repair the emotional breakdown that's occurred within these families. And I really like the show because, it's funny and entertaining, and it's dramatic. So, us as people, we're always attracted to things like that. But I do think that his level of leadership and his capacity to actually care about others and get them to open up in a very deep way, to where he addresses the heart of the issue, and he's actually able to resolve the restaurant's root problems, at least for a short amount of time, for to go back to their old habits, because change doesn't happen within a day or a week. It takes consistent effort over time. But I digress. And to go deeper into that, is that what he's able to do, and this is the important part I really want to say, this is, I guess, his spiritual gift, is that he's able to speak the truth. Like, he's able to stand by what he sees, what he knows, and deliver it in a concrete, firm, sometimes asshole manner, but I think it's just part of who he is, directly to people's face when they need to hear it. A lot of these people are arrogant, narcissistic. They believe that there's not a problem with the restaurant, even though no one shows up for lunch and dinner. What Gordon does is that he basically shoves the truth in your face, to where you don't have any choice but to accept it. And when you are ready to actually accept it, that's when he can dive in deeper with you with the root causes. And that's one thing I've actually recognized in the pattern of the show, is that all of the physical, you can say, ailments or symptoms of the restaurant, whether it be disorganization, bad food, bad leadership, it all comes from some kind of inner turmoil, inner emotional strife going on within the owner or the family. And that emotional trouble leaks out into the physical and leaks out into the restaurant, which I think is a great kind of metaphor for our lives, to where if there's like a lot of emotional like warring and disintegration within, it's going to show up in our lives in some other aspect that maybe we may not be fully aware of. But he's able to bring that to light, saying like, look, you're about to shut down. You're about to lose your house. You have to be put out on the street because you're not recognizing the truth of what you're seeing in front of you and how you're running your business, how you're running your restaurant. And they force them to see that. He forces them to see the truth and the consequences in their actions, and it's painful. It burns. It burns to see the truth. It burns to see where you've fell in your life and the mistakes that you've made that you feel like that maybe you can't come back from. It hurts to look at the damage that you feel like you've done to yourself. But when you do that, the truth will set you free. Now you have the power to change it. Now that you've accepted agency that you caused this problem, now you now have the power to actually solve this problem. And that's the beauty in what he does. So now that you've recognized, now he's kind of broken you down. He might yell at you a little bit, broke down your ego. You've cried, you've reacted, you've gotten angry. And here's another thing too, just a little quick sidewalk of what I noticed is that even when the people that cuss him out and saying like, dude, you're a fucking joke. I can't believe you come to my restaurant and say this stuff. Even after the fact, they would get like a temper tantrum after Gordon tells them the truth. They'd come back. Like after like maybe like a day or like, after like even a couple of hours, it's like, you know what? He has a point. I'm not sure what goes on behind the scenes. Maybe they paid him off, or maybe it's all for show. But at least from what it looks like is that after they take some time to digest the truth, even though they're emotionally angry and outburst at it, eventually they come back around because they realize this is exactly what they need to hear. So let that even be a quick lesson in of itself is that you shouldn't be afraid to speak the truth for emotional outburst reasons, because the truth, if it really is the truth, it's the reality of the situation. And lies don't last. People need to reside on something, and so therefore they can't reside on lies for the long term. Eventually they'll have to come back to the truth if they want things to get better. So even if they don't accept it initially, they will accept it eventually, and it just kind of takes time. So don't be afraid to speak the truth, and like most times, people will come back. So that's one lesson. But the second aspect of that is that after he goes with the truth through these people and they're able to emotionally reconcile with that, that's when he starts implementing the changes that need to be made, and he's able to actually start getting to the heart of the matter of what's causing the arrogance, what's causing the emotional stonewalling, what's causing the miser attitude and the selfishness, the scarcity mentality, what's causing these attitudes that are holding these leaders back from leading their team effectively. And once he's able to address those and get the members, get the owners to open up, that's when they're able to start making positive, meaningful changes. I read this book called Change or something like that, some book in college, and it talked about how really the only key way to change a person, you can try to do it logically, but it has to come from a deep emotional change. The analogy the book gave was like the rider and the elephant. Our cognitive conscious mind is like the rider, but our emotions are like the elephant. So just how some people have a hard time, well, you myself included, I have a hard time trying to stick to a diet. Is you don't really stick to a diet until you get to a doctor's office and they tell you that you have like high blood pressure or that you're going to die in 30 days if you don't change your diet. It's really that emotional shock and that sense of danger, that sense of like, I won't be able to walk my daughter down the aisle because of my weight. Or it's like, I won't be able to enjoy my retirement. Or like, I won't be able to, or I'm going to have to lose my life here in a matter of a couple of years because of my diet and how far I've gotten. It's that emotional shock that really gets people to change their behavior in a short period of time. That's really the big driver to a lot of change substantially. So that's what Gordon focuses on, is that, look, people understand the finances, yeah, but what's the damage being done to your family? What's the damage being done to your sleep? What's the damage being done to your legacy? Like when you start hitting on the things where people are like, I can't see my kids, or it's like it's affecting my marriage, or like, I feel like I want to kill myself. It's like when he starts getting to the heart of the matter, that's when people start recognizing that they have to change, not just for the external, but just for the internal peace that they need to feel. So he's able to target that, and then he's able to start working on them and keep harping on them, be like, hey, stick to the changes, commit to it. Like he doesn't let people off the hook. And that's really the kind of message I'm trying to get across here, is that in order for the world to change, in order for men's lives to change, we have to be willing to speak the truth into the world about what we see, what we recognize, what we feel, and be able to stand and lead and guide that we're supposed to, like men are supposed to do. If men are the leaders in society, then we have to set the pace, right, and lead. Just like in a dance and in a two-partner dance, the man is the one that directs the pace and kind of controls where the dance goes, right? So when we abdicate that responsibility because we're either afraid to accept responsibility, we feel like we're not good enough to accept responsibility, we feel like that it should be someone else's responsibility, or we're so resentful and bitter towards the world that we don't want to even partake, it's that's when we start seeing the negative effects and ramifications in society to where men no longer try, and therefore the world starts breaking down. I think there's a pattern of like another book called like hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and then weak men create hard times. I think we're in the weak men create hard times section of that pattern, to where the more bitter and resentful, men become bitter and resentful because they refuse to take ownership of their lives and move their lives forward in a meaningful direction because they feel like either that they can't or that they shouldn't have to. But regardless of what the reason is, they refuse to take action, so they don't move forward. So they get bitter and resentful about the world. They start blaming those around them and all the other aspects of their lives outside of themselves. And that just makes them more bitter and resentful and more, privy to either bad coping mechanisms, bad behaviors, or things that hurt people. Basically, they either start hurting themselves or start hurting the world around them when someone gets that bitter. And it happens from a place of weakness, of feeling like you're not able to take control of your life, you're not able to speak your mind, to step up, to be looked upon with respect, is that you feel like a weak person. So in order to reclaim any kind of sense of power, you decide to take it back, sometimes in a very violent manner. I mean, where do you think school shootings come from? Like, you don't see the jockers football team going out there shooting up schools. You see the person at the lower end of the status hierarchy that feel like the only way they can get any kind of notoriety is to blow the whole thing up. That's where evil comes from. It comes from weakness and men feeling like they have no ability to change the world, so then they decide to change it in the worst of ways. That's what we're in danger of happening on a larger scale if we don't start addressing this problem today. But that comes from having conversations like this, or podcasts, or just open conversations about this, being like, or I even have guys in my own life, my own friends, where it's like, dude, you have to find out who you are, what you're good at, what you care about in this world, and go after it. Because if you don't, you will become the next problem in this world. You will become a bitter, resentful man that will bring down those around you or bring down yourself, and it's not gonna be good for anybody. So that's really the main purpose that I kind of wanted to kind of get across, and how I have great respect for Ramsey or Jordan Peterson or people that are able to kind of stand up and speak the truth despite it being uncomfortable, because they recognize that it's not about being well liked and it's not about them. It's about trying to cause or make a positive impact on the world. And sometimes it may not be pretty, or the truth may not be something that's comfortable to hear, but it needs to be said, because now when you hear it, you can actually do something about it to change your future direction. But yeah, I think that's really the big thing, is that if you're having a hard time in your life, chances are there are probably some truths that you need to face that you haven't faced yet. And when you're willing to face those and encounter those, and you're willing to commit to the changes that need to be made to get your life back on track, that's when you'll start seeing the overall change and impact on your life. It's starting to change and move into a positive direction. So that's I think that's really the big nail on the head of things I want to talk about. Trying to think if there's anything like a personal example. Like, I know even me opening up to my parents more, my friends more about how I feel about certain things. It's very enlightening, because it allows them to come into my life and actually help me deal with some of even my burdens and some things I'm going through. I think that's a big thing too, is that, one thing we have to remember as men is that, we're not mountains, we're not islands. I think we need to be able to have good people in our lives that we can lean upon when things get tough, to lean upon when you feel like you want to quit, or to lean upon when you feel like you're about to indulge in bad behavior. I think it's good to have people to kind of help hold you accountable to the higher standards that you should have for yourself. Because the people that love you, they will be able to tell you the truth, even if it hurts you, but to keep you on a path that's good for you. Thank God I have parents that helped me, that kind of led me to be the man I am today, to be financially stable, to be responsible. I'm working on being more of my outspoken nature. But it's just that enabled me to give me the tools that I need to help live a good life and help take care of those around me and those who I care about. So I feel like that it's not just enough to know who you are and what you want to go after. You have to make sure you have good people surrounding you, because one day you will fall, or one day you fall into temptation, or one day you may want to give up. And when that day comes, you're going to need good people around you that are willing to tell you the hard truth that you need to hear to keep you on track and to help uplift you and get you back to where you're trying to go and who you need to be, you're supposed to be. But yeah, I think that's really kind of wraps everything up that I want to talk about. It's more of a shorter episode today. I'll try and upload these more consistently, try to have on a few more guests. I feel like I say that every time, but I mean it this time. There we go. But yeah, I think I want to thank you guys for listening, and to the people that kind of keep me in the fight, and for the people that help uplift me. Like, I actually had people come to me like, "Hey Nick, when's the next podcast episode? I love listening to you. I love like hearing your voice talk about these subjects." And I'm like, "Damn, really? Okay, well, shit. Okay, I'll record more. I'll record more." It's like it's one of those things where sometimes you kind of get caught up in your own head too, of how effective or how much of a difference or impact you can make. And I think that's, I mean, not to get all super spiritual, but I think, again, kind of the work of the devil, to where he's the prince of lies, right? So he'll make you think that you're smaller than you are, that you're not as capable as you are, that you're weaker as you are, to stop you from doing the things that you're meant to do in this world. And that's how he does it. He strikes at your weaknesses to deceive you and make you think that you're worse than you actually are, to rob you and your gift that you're supposed to give to the world. And to that I say, don't let him. Don't let him. But I definitely think he's real, or he's just more of like a overall spirit or a sense of self that's holding you back. Whatever you want to conceptualize that, don't let that win. Don't let that beat you out. And if you feel like that it is, then lean on your loved ones and those around you to help uplift you and get you back on the right path, like my loved ones did for me. So, yep, I'm back. I'm recording. I said to myself that, maybe not every episode's going to be perfect. I mean, not every episode's going to have the perfect production. I may not always know what to say in a perfectly articulated manner. And I may not always feel like recording either. But I do know that this, I feel, is definitely, at the very least, on the path to where my gift is and what I want to do to the world and how I want to support it. I feel like it does lie in my voice and in my ideas and my beliefs, and be able to hold on to those beliefs, my convictions strongly, and be able to speak on them. I do believe that, at the very least, is a portion of what my gift is and what I'm supposed to give back to the world. So at least in my own personal journey, I'm going to keep chasing that. And I'm going to see where that leads me towards. And I'll keep you guys posted with my progress. You'll see it to see how things work out in the long run. But the good news is that this is one of those things where I can do this for the rest of my life if I really wanted to. I mean, like if I did stick to it, it'd be interesting to see my thought process and my beliefs now at age 25 versus 35 and 45 and 55, just kind of going through the decades of how I kind of grow and change as a person. Just kind of seeing where I end up. It'd be interesting to kind of see how much I kind of change for better or for worse. We'll see, and kind of see where I land over time. It'd be kind of like a cool little kind of time capsule kind of deal. But let me know what you think about the episode. I'll post this on the usual, like Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, all the great places. But give me a follow. Like I said, keep it real with Nicholas Salter. Thanks again for listening. Let me know if you have any, comments or any good ideas or questions. I love to hear them. I love to communicate with you guys. Even in any disagreements, love to hear those too and prove you wrong. Kidding, low key, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, again, thank you again for listening, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night or time, whatever time of day you're listening to this. And keep it real. Peace.